What is up, my peoples, my Gucci? What is going on? Just bringing you a little free-for-all action today, and I'm using a weapon that I guess some people use. I'm not really sure. I don't keep up with what seems to be popular, except for I know that everybody in the freaking brother uses the ump, but using the old FAL, and in keeping with my recent trend of shamelessly copying Diesel by using weapons that I don't normally use, I decided to use this one, and I don't know, it's different, you know, I feel like it takes more skill to use than like a tar or something, because obviously it's not full, it eliminates the ability to just like spray from the hip. Like if you try to do that with this gun, you're gonna get screwed. So I don't know, it's this thing, and I like it. I can't really, I struggle to get really, you know, high KD ratios and stuff, but I enjoy it. I think it's different, it's a change of pace, and I also like it because I actually have an FAL in real life. It's actually rather a clone. Parts wise, it's identical, but it's not made by the same company, FN Herstal, which is it's a Belgian company or something, but it's a model of the FAL design that was outsourced to I think it's made in Canada or something. But it made me think of an interesting topic of discussion today, because it's kind of different in that, like, where the pistol grip comes down, like at the bottom of it, there's a piece of plastic that comes off the pistol grip off the bottom, and it connects it to the stock. And I asked my dad, I was like, why did it come like that? And the reason why is because he bought it during the Clinton administration, and some of you may know that during that administration there was a, quote, ban on assault weapons, and their terminology, their definition of assault weapons is a little bit cloudy, but basically they made it illegal to own any semi-automatic rifle that had a pistol grip and a detachable magazine that held 5 or more rounds or something like that. I'm not sure, but they made that illegal, and it expired. The law expired in 2004, and now Barack Obama is trying to introduce legislature that will make it a permanent, to reinstate it and make it permanent. And no matter where you stand on gun control, I feel like gun control as a political, you know, topic of discussion, it really bothers me that there are people in this country, and some of you may not be old enough to really, you know or care about this, and that's not your fault. I didn't care when I was, you know, a younger teenager, but there are people in this country who, if they had it their way, nobody would own a gun for any reason. And this frightens me for a lot of reasons, because if you'll take, for example, somewhere like Canada, and England, I believe, is very similar, and so is Australia, where they have taken, through small steps in legislature, they have basically made it illegal to own any other weapon besides, I think you're allowed to own like bolt-action rifles, and that's it. And they start this off in like a number of different ruses. One thing they do is they say that they start with handguns, and they say, you know, we need to outlaw handguns because they lead to handgun, you know, violence and crimes and whatever. So what they did in Canada was pass law, whatever, said you can't have handguns. Then they made every Canadian go turn in his or her handgun, and then they took a saw blade to it and cut it in half and destroyed them all. And I'm pretty sure they compensated them for whatever, you know, whatever the cost of the value of the weapon might be. But irregardless, they weren't allowed to keep. If you wanted to keep it, it was tough shit, because they'd already been registered. I mean, there was handgun registration in the whole country like there is in America, so you can't, I mean, if you don't turn it in, they're going to know you have it. So they made people turn in their handguns. Then they came later and they were like, oh, you know what? Now we don't like semi-automatic weapons, you have to register those too, because those could be dangerous. If the many robberies that occur with semi-automatic rifles, some horse shit that they came up with. So they made them register it, and then they seized all pump-action shotguns and assault rifles, or semi-automatic weapons, and then they took a saw blade to those and cut them all in half. So what you're left with now, in a country like Canada, is a nation that is completely disarmed. Now, proponents of gun control will tell you that only police should have should only have guns. So if you're in danger, you don't have the right to defend yourself. You should call the police. Well, that's all well and good. So if someone breaks into your house, you can call the police. The police are going to get there in about 10 minutes and take pictures of your body, and then start a murder case on you. But here in America, if you're armed, you can fight back and shoot anybody that tries to break into your house, which is the difference. And see, people like to throw around numbers about handgun violence and stuff, but the point is, handgun violence, any kind of violent crime, has been going up continuously throughout history. Without fail, violent crime goes up. I mean, rarely do you ever see substantial, significant drops, and that has more to do with population and sociology and a bunch of other different things. But something that the vast majority of them fail to realize is, as much as we don't like to think about it, our government can go bad, as many governments have before. They've gone bad, they've gone tyrannical and oppressive and whatever. But what happens when the police are the ones who are breaking into your house and, roughing you up and raping your wife or whatever? Then who are you going to call? You're sure as hell not going to call the police, and you're not going to be armed. See, for a government to function properly, a government has to fear its people. Otherwise, you get people that, you get these politicians that start to, creep their way in and start to strong-arm people and start to impose their will on others, especially, and that's 10 times easier to do on a nation that's disarmed. Some of the biggest proponents of gun control have been people like Hitler, people like Stalin. So it's just, and even from an ideological standpoint, from a moral standpoint, you're taking away people's freedom. You're saying, there's something that they can't have. Like, we are not responsible enough as human beings to have. And I don't know. Those two things, I just can't accept that. That we could be taken over by our government at any time because we're not armed and we can't fight back. So, I mean, actually, it's written right in the Constitution, Second Amendment. So, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Leave comments. I think it's a really interesting topic of discussion. So, leave comments and let me know what you think.